Hey everyone, Trevor Daly with MagMod. Hey, I am back for another How I Shot It. And guys, today I have probably one of the busiest, hardest working photographers I've ever come across. Ray, I'm serious, man. When I look at your stuff, I'm just so impressed at how busy you are. Guys, this is Ray Alvarez. How you doing, Ray?
I'm doing good, Trevor. Can't complain. I'm doing great. How about you?
Really good. Hey, I'm being serious, man. I was looking at your stuff and like you're shooting corporate stuff, you're shooting weddings, you're just it feels like there's nothing that you're not doing. How would you brand yourself?
I'm what a lot of people like to consider a creative portrait photographer and a wedding photographer.
Okay. So you're doing both. And it seems like you do a lot of corporate type work, right?
Yeah, throughout the week, I'm doing more corporate work, more business branding and portfolio stuff for local professionals and businesses. And on the weekends, uh, call me a weekend warrior. I do it full time, but I also do weddings.
That's wild. I like I said, I just what I love about these How I Shot It episodes, I get to kind of dive into the people and kind of study the people that I'm going to bring on the episodes. And the more I uncovered about you, I'm just like, this guy, when does he have time? Like, you just do so much work. Ray, in fact, you know what? Before we even jump into anything, I gotta say, your YouTube channel, you started like a year ago, and you have like 265 videos, which blew my mind. Tell us about this YouTube channel. I'm actually gonna bring it up if you're cool with that. I want to show everyone as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. So I started my YouTube channel seriously about a year ago, a year or so.
Hmm.
After Shutterfest, speaking at Shutterfest kind of inspired that because I've had a lot of my fellow peers, other photographers that I know and photographers that I didn't know who reached out to me personally, constantly. Hey Ray, how do you do this? Hey Ray, how do you film this? How do you use these gels? How do you use this lighting? And so I figured that the easiest way to tackle that is to create videos that people can, just go online and just search it up. And I've tried different platforms before I tried YouTube, and that's where I decided, hey, look, YouTube is the home for my videos. And I just start recording all of my shoots. Sometimes I make them specifically for YouTube, and sometimes I'm just doing a lot of BTS and just decided to put it all together and throw it on YouTube.
That's awesome, dude. I love that you're giving back to the industry and giving back to other photographers. And I
Love
mean,
it.
just the fact that you created over 200 videos and posted them on YouTube is amazing in such a short amount of time. So, guys, if you have not yet already, this is your call to action. Go check out Shoot with Ray. It's at Shoot with Ray on YouTube, and go subscribe to him. Amazing stuff. And actually, some of the images that we're going to talk about, I understand you have like a video that you're going to publish here shortly about one of these crazy, amazing images that we're going to talk about here shortly. Is that right?
That is correct. I created something last night with Ray Alvarez. For those of you who don't know her, that's my wife and also my makeup artist, studio partner. We created a video last night with multiple lights, multiple gels, all about MagMod. I'm also unboxing something there. So go check that out. Go subscribe. So that way, when it does come out, you guys will get notified. So that way you guys can watch that video.
That's awesome. I love it. Ray, before we jump into your images and talk about how you shot these images, tell us real quick where are you based out of? Where are you located?
So I gotta say, right now I'm in Orlando, Florida. I love it here. This is heaven to me. But I'm originally from New York. I always have to say that because I feel like people would just think I'm just originally a born Floridian, and that's not the case. Originally from Brooklyn, New York, but I'm in Orlando, Florida now.
That's cool. Right on. I love Orlando, but my goodness, I drove once there on the highways in Florida, and I could not believe how many toll roads you guys have. You,
Yeah,
you
it's
can't even get
insane.
on or off a road before you hit like three toll roads. It's crazy.
That's part of my expenses every month.
Exactly, exactly. All right. Well, hey, actually, you know what? Before we even jump into that, I got one last thing I want to show everybody. I'm going to jump over here and
Sure.
I want to show them your Instagram so they can go follow you as well. So we got Shoot with Ray, and then and I'll show everyone just real fast here. You'll see what I mean by the variety of just images. Ray just has just these like all kinds of. And now this is your kind of your corporate work, right? Corporate and creative
Correct.
portraits. And then you
Correct.
have
Yeah.
actually I'm going to show them your website too because I had it pulled up.
Yeah.
So this is the shootwithray.com. So again, portraits and creative stuff and business, amazing stuff. I just love all these headshots and environmental portraits, I like to call them, things like that. Amazing stuff. And then you
Thank
got
you.
Weddings by Ray. So go check that one out, guys, on Instagram. And then your website, and it's weddingsbyray.com. Ray, I gotta say one thing as well that when I was looking at this, something that stood out to me. If I go down here, I love this button that says tap to check availability. And it's funny, but that call to action I think is a really good way of saying, instead of saying, "Hey, contact me" or "inquire with me" or whatever. It's a great way, because that's the biggest question people have, right? They find you and they go, "Oh, I'm going to see if they're available on my date," right? And so it's like, and then you click on that, and it's basically becomes a contact form. But I love the fact that just those words. So if you see me change that on my website, I'm probably going to steal that from you.
That's cool, man. It's an important CTA.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to point out one more thing too before we jump in these images. But I love the fact that on your this page right above the contact, how you have where it says like these are some of the things that our couples love: unlimited photos, complimentary engagement, two photographers. Like, this is fantastic, dude. This is, again, you're basically tapping into exactly what people want to see right away. And then you have your contact form. And then there's one other thing I was looking at when I was looking at your website, and it was the styles. Where did I find that? It was under, up at the top
Right
here.
up top. Yep. There you go.
I've been thinking about doing something like this for the longest time. I want to pull this up so people can see this, because I think
Sure.
as photographers, yeah, we have like a specific or a distinct style we tend to go to, but being open and allowing people to say like, "Hey, I really like light and airy," or "I really like vibrant and dramatic." I just think this is the way you do this. Is this, you kind of talk to couples and say, "What would you like your images to be?" Is that what you do? Tell us about this.
So I kind of open it up to the internet, to the brides who are just shopping online, because here's the thing, right? I'm an artist at heart. I love to be creative and I love to do things my way.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm a businessman. And you have to remember that if you're doing this for profits, if you're doing this to make money and pay the bills, you have to remember that you can't say no to business. Now, if it's something you don't enjoy doing, don't do it. But why would I lose potential clients or potential, income because I don't want to do something light and airy? I mean, it's simple. All you have to do is just shoot it a little brighter that day. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that I apply to my website. So those brides who have yet to speak to me can see that on my website and say, oh, well, he's not just a moody and dramatic photographer. He can also do this, match this style for me. And then now I have a new lead. And, once I talk to this person, if they're the right fit for me, then I might as well offer myself up and offer them my services. But that's just another way to kind of reel those people into your lead magnet. So that way you can talk to them and have a conversation with them and then decide whether or not you want to work with them or if they can decide if they want to work with you.
I think it's fantastic, dude. I literally, when I've thought about doing that in the past, and I actually had somebody talk me out of it. And I thought, and like you said, it's not hard to have different styles that you can present to people and say, "You want that? I can do that for you," as opposed to, "Oh, you want that? Well, you're gonna have to go find somebody else." So
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
it's phenomenal, and I was so excited to see it. And like I said, there's things on your website that I was just like, I need to implement that. So guys, go check it out. Weddings by Ray or shootbyray.com. Both of them are his websites. So good stuff, dude. Should we jump
Thank
into
you,
the
Trevor.
images?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share this screen right here. And if you want to share your screen, we
I
should be
got
able
you
to
right now.
see the images, and you can pick whichever one you'd like to do first there. This is the one I was talking about that I think you just filmed a video on this one. Is that right?
That's correct. That's the one. So this one here
Ray,
is,
if you wouldn't mind, do that shift tab real quick on this one, and I think we'll fill up the whole screen. There we go.
there we go.
Love it.
All right. Now we got it. So yeah, so this is the one that we literally shot last night. Super excited because we stood up late for this one. Sometimes as a family here in the household, we have kids together, so we have to do things at night sometimes, just because we have the kitchen and this is the home studio. So if we're not at the actual studio, we're doing things here in the kitchen or in the living room. We mix it up. So we break everything apart. We move everything around and get to work. And then when we're done, we clean up and everything. So it's a little bit more of an effort. But no, this was really fun. I believe it was a total of 5 lights for this photo shoot here.
Wow.
And for those who don't know, like I said, Kay Alvarez is my wife, but at the same time, she's the makeup artist for most of my creative photo shoots. Sometimes we're doing things for brands where they hire her as an influencer or hire me as an influencer, and we create images for brands. Um, but then at the same time, we're also just doing fun, creative stuff. So think of this like the hobby, right? So
Mhm.
when we're not working, when we're not doing makeup or photo shoots for our clients, we're doing the hobby, and this is the fun part for us. So we get creative. So last night she's like, "Hey, are you in the mood to create?" I'm like, "You know what? Yes. The MagMod beauty dish video is overdue. We need to create it. Let's come up with something that we can use it for." And she's like, "All right, so what do you think?" And I'm like, So I stared at her section in the room, and I saw like she has a whole collection of perfume bottles, and I'm like, "All right, perfume bottles. Let's start there." And she's like, "All right, what are you thinking for makeup?" And I'm like, "Give me something like soft glam." But at the same time, one of the things I truly, truly love about Kay's makeup is when she does a lot of contouring. So
Mm,
she has like a lot of highlights. I
mm,
really, really love that because that's what stands out to us in our glamish or beauty photo shoots.
yeah.
So I'm like, give me some crazy contour, give me some crazy highlights, and she came to win last night. So she put this all together. I'm the one that put the perfumes together, and I'm like, all right, let's settle on just holding one of the perfume bottles, almost like as a prop, because sometimes even when you're creating beauty photo shoots, you're kind of thinking like, okay, so you're just standing there. It almost looks just like a mugshot or a headshot. So how do you make it look pretty? How do you make it look creative? You add some props, and in this
Yeah.
case, the prop was the perfume bottle.
I love that.
Uh,
So tell
yeah.
us, and you said you're 5 lights. So tell us about the lights. I see some gels obviously being used.
Yeah. So if you don't know my work is at least 95% gels. Like I'm always using gels.
Hmm.
I'll explain a little bit more of that here in the next few photos we have here. So on her right side, you have a 200 watt with the purple dome gel. Then you have on the other opposite side, you have a 200 watt with the yellow gel. Right behind her, facing the backdrop, is a blue dome gel. And then the key light is the Beauty Dish by MagMod, of course, which is shining on her. And then last but not least, we have another light using the optical snoot, not the MagMod optical snoot, but another one,
Uh-huh.
which is directly on the perfume bottle.
Ah, in order to make it pop a little bit there.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, but I think that extra kiss of light did help it make it pop.
I think you're right though. I think it really does. So tell me, you said a blue dome gel behind her because it kind of turned out purple. Did you edit it and post to kind of make it more purple? Is that what you did?
That's correct. So what you see behind me right now is exactly the
Ah.
same backdrop that I used last night. That's the only part that I got lazy with and I didn't put it away. But the backdrop you see behind me is the one I used. And then I used a blue dome gel to kind of just highlight the bottom end of her body to separate her from the backdrop. And then in post, while I was editing, I don't know, I started playing with the sliders and then we converted that blue into purple and we fell in love. We were like, nope, this is it. So we left it at that. So that's why it doesn't look blue. But yes, it was originally blue in the
I
background.
I think that purple choice was good because it really does make kind of it blends with the gold and the purple on her as well. So tell me
I
then,
agree.
as far as editing goes, when you and maybe this will be in your video that you're creating for YouTube, but did you just use Lightroom and use like the background, like choose a background and then the AI function as far as choosing the background and then go in there and change the color slider from there, or did you take this into Photoshop, or what was your trick to change that background
So
color?
that's a really good question. So I use Lightroom minimally now. More so, I'm using Evoto AI to edit
Yeah,
most of my photos because it helps me with the hair, retouching, some minor skin retouching, skin editing, and things like that.
yeah,
However, with the latest update that they have right now, you can actually have way more features that Lightroom has. So, for example, here to change the color in the background, you simply go to the HSL sliders and you just start playing around with the colors, and that gives you the option to change the blues, change the reds, greens,
nice.
yellows, and get to a good color grade that you like for the entire image or just for selective portions of the image.
That's cool. That's cool. I played with Evoto once, and I loved it. But I had bought like credits or something. I can't remember. This was maybe a year ago, year and a half ago. Um, and then it was funny because then I saw a bunch of people talking about it, and they're like, "Oh, Evoto changed their pricing, and now it's expensive." And ever since then, I haven't even looked into it. I don't even know if I have
Yeah.
credits left. What do you typically spend on a monthly basis? For Evoto? Is it a subscription or is it credits or what is it?
So I have the annual subscription model.
Okay.
I honestly think it's better because they give you a certain amount of photos that you can edit throughout the year. And if you so happen to go over that limit, you're only paying 0.07, don't quote me, 0.07 on each photo. So, I mean,
Okay.
again, going back to the whole artist and business, if you're an artist, if you're a hobbyist photographer, okay, maybe you have to set a budget every month for how many pictures you want to do, but there's no way as an artist or hobbyist, you're going to go over 4,000 pictures a year. Now,
Mm,
as a business person, you can see yourself editing more of you, especially if you're doing a lot of portraits throughout the year.
yeah.
So it's a great price per edit. For something that you have total control of, I don't see you spending way more money than that. And if you do, then just build that into your price.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a really cool program. Like I said, I really
Yeah,
enjoyed it. I haven't touched it in a while, but I need to get back in there. Especially when you're doing stuff like the portraits and the beauty and even like wedding work. Obviously, you're not going to edit a whole wedding. Well, maybe you are. I don't know. Again, I haven't used
no,
it,
not in the photo.
but you're going to definitely take those signature shots and you can clean them up really
Yeah.
fast. So that's cool. I wasn't planning on talking to you, Voto. I apologize that I'm throwing all these questions at you,
No,
um,
that's fine.
but it is something interesting for sure. So love that shot. I'm excited to see the video on this. And you said that the beauty dish was kind of your main key light right there, right? And then you have
That's
the
correct.
gels. Okay,
The beauty dish was the key light. I definitely wanted to make sure to incorporate it, just clearly because that was the point of the video, was to do an unboxing with the beauty dish,
got it.
to kind of show you guys what it can create as long as you put it to work. It was my first time actually using the MagMod beauty dish. So we really did have some fun with it, and I just love the results of the images that we were able to create using that modifier.
You know what really stands out to me is how you have this nice defined light. You know, you got this shadow coming right off her jaw and things, yet it's soft, and you got this little bit of like glow, kind of that specularity that just kind of stands out on her cheeks that I just absolutely love. I mean, it just looks
Yeah,
amazing there. So
thank you.
good stuff. Well, right on. Well, Ray, my goodness, this is gonna be a long episode. I already know it is because you got so much good stuff that I can't wait to talk about. So, with
Oh
that, why don't
man.
you jump into your next image for us?
Yeah, so this is just another one here,
Oh, this
another.
is another one from the same shoot.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
But
so
yeah, just to
pretty.
give you kind of an idea.
Hold on one second. I want to zoom in on this just a little bit more.
Yeah, let's do it.
What a beautiful shot. Wow.
Thank you.
Your,
Appreciate it.
your wife has some incredible eyes too.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. So, oh, and then also just to touch real quick, it's not only Waveoto, Lightroom, Capture One, and a lot of other editing softwares do have that HSL option, but just to throw it out there.
Yeah, yeah. I know you can do it in Lightroom, and I know there's a lot of things you can do in Lightroom, but I will agree the little bit of time that I have used Evoto, I've been very impressed by it. So
Gotcha. All right, on to the next one.
you
So
know what, Ray? Since we've talked so much about Evoto, do you have a code or anything we could throw out for people that will get you
I do.
a few extra credits?
I actually do. You can find it on any of my latest videos that incorporate Evoto. You can find the credits
Okay,
there. If you're a new user, you can use one of their links that they have, and they give you some credits to try it out. And then if you are already a user, they give you a very good discount on the annual subscription. And the cool part is that a lot of people get the misconception that you have to pay per edit. You can edit 3,000 photos to your liking, and you don't have to pay for a single one until you export it. So the moment you're ready to export that image and save it and use it, that's when you pay for the edits.
got it, got it. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Cool.
All right. So let's see here. The next one is going to be this one here. Let's
It's
see.
fantastic. Looks like a business portrait type shot.
Yeah, it's a branding business portrait. I got to work with this individual to create. He was rebranding actually. But the reason why I wanted to showcase this photo was because there's a lot of us who are either getting into off-camera flash and introducing ourselves to it. So I wanted to make it simple for people who are just getting into off-camera flash. They're not sure what modifiers they want to use. And you can start off with a very simple modifier, which is the 42-inch MagMod softbox. And that's exactly what I used here.
Mm,
That softbox was placed to the gentleman's left side, which is on our right side. And that's exactly what's filling in the shadows, because what I did was, although we were covered from the sun with the building with which was he was under, um, but we exposed for ambient, and then after that, we filled the gentleman in with that light. I used 200-watt strobe along with the 42-inch mag mod, and that's how we filled it in.
nice. When you say 200-watt strobe, are you referring to the AD200s?
That's the 8200s, yeah. I usually don't like to mention like which unit it was, only because I feel like that's another thing too. Like You don't necessarily have to use the same lighting that I'm using. You can use any other strobes that you may have, as long as it is comparable to the wattage or the power of the light. So in this case, it's 200 watts.
Yeah. That's great insight right there. Ray, you know what's interesting to me on this one, and you know, you said you had exposed for ambient. I think a lot of people, especially if you're not you haven't done off-camera flash, you might not realize that by exposing to ambient and having him in the shade, you're not going to get that dimension in the shot. Like the 42, when you put it there, that softbox, and you lit him up, you're getting that shadow right on the suit and on the arm, and you know, you're just creating these dimensions that with light that you make the photo really kind of pop out and make it come, you know, alive basically. Whereas if you're just shooting in the shade, oftentimes you don't get that. It seems more flat basically. So I love that. And it's just that 142. Is that all you used?
That's correct. It's just that 142. It's feathered to the side, so like you said, so it can create that dimension and create
Mm-hmm.
those shadows. That's intentional. I know a lot of people usually what they traditionally do is they think that the light should be placed right next to them and kind of just facing forward towards the subject. And like you said, that works sometimes, but sometimes it can create that flat looking image. So
Mm-hmm.
always try to like bring it to the side and feather it a little bit more. Just play with the location and placement of your light, and you'll see the different varieties of photos that you can create.
I love that. I love it. I also noticed you got a little bit of a loop light coming off the nose, which is great. It's one of my favorite patterns, just getting that little bit of a shadow coming off. So good stuff. Really cool image.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so this one here is another simple idea. In this case, I used the key light was in the room, and I bounced it in this room because I felt it was gonna give me a good output in terms of lighting. But the kicker here is my secondary light, which was gelled with the CTO gel inside of another room. If you look
Mm-hmm.
towards the back, you can see like that orange color cast coming in from that room, and that was intentional. One, because I felt like it helped with the branding for this photo and series of photos that I created for this company. And it kind of just, it would have been an old, just boring photo if it had no color in it. So I just figured, you know what? Let me use gels. Like I said earlier, I love using gels. Let me place it in this room and let's see what it looks like. And it actually turned out really good. And this company really loved their whole set of photos.
That is really cool. I love that you chose a color that goes with the hue of their logo, you know, on the wall and on their shirt. It's like a perfect
Right.
complementary color to what you see there. Um, Good stuff. You know what's interesting is when you showed this image at first, I was like, yeah, it's a nice image. It didn't even dawn on me the color in the back. Actually, there's a great word. Have you ever heard the word punction? Have you ever heard that word? I might be saying it
No,
wrong. So it's basically it's a word where, and when you see an art, you know how you look at art and you're like, oh, this is really cool, and then all of a sudden you see something else and you go, dang, like that even makes it better. Like that's amazing. And those I love those types of images and stuff that like just something about it you love, but then you see something else and you're like, what? Like that's crazy. And that's kind of what this
it blows
reminds
your
me of
mind.
is say that again.
It blows your mind. It blows your mind.
Yeah, yeah, and I again, you're absolutely right. 100%. Had that just been a white wall back there, it wouldn't have been that exciting. I mean, it would have been a nice image that they could have probably used for something, but that color does make it really pop and just something different. I need to think about stuff like that on shoots like this.
All right, next one, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
All
Jeez.
right, this one was a fun shoot. This one was created for one of our friends. This is actually a model that we got to work with, but she was submitting it for something. This was last year at some point. But it is one of my favorite images today, because Kay Alvarez was the one on the makeup. So you see that crazy makeup work on her eyes and everything like that. That's her, and that's considered a glam look. And she's known for that. But here I've implemented one gel in the background just to make her pop. And it's one of the things that I really enjoy doing at my photo shoots is just either including one or two gels just to make it pop and get those colors to come out. I love vibrant colors and I love using it in my photos.
It's amazing. So what lights exactly did you use for this one then?
So this was my traditional beauty setup, and what I do is I have either the 42 right above, and then I have a reflector right on the bottom,
Hmm,
and then after that, so it's always a one light setup, and then the secondary light was the one with the gel right behind the model. So it
got
was a
it.
two light setup.
Got it. That's really cool. Yeah, again, I love the way you chose the gel to complement, you know, the makeup and the look. So cool. And I love how you're using gels behind them because it really makes that pop. Kind of gives them that kind of that radial, almost like what do you call it? Like a radial filter, like this light that just kind of radiates from them behind them. It's so beautiful.
Almost like a gradient. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Hey Ray, a couple times you've mentioned Kay as far as doing makeup. I feel like we should give her a shout out as well. Does she have an Instagram?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's K Alvarez Makeup on all platforms.
All right, I'm gonna see if I can pull it up real quick here. Kay Alvarez makeup. Whoop, there he goes. Nice. Here, let's pull it up real quick so everyone can see it.
Yeah,
Um,
sure. I'm
and,
gonna
and
start my screen with.
I think I got it right here. Is this it right
There we
here?
go. Yes, sir.
Nice. Very cool. So she
Yeah, so
does.
she's really known for neutral looks, glam looks. She's good at special SFX makeup for
Uh,
movies, films, things like that. So throughout the year, she's always getting hired for different projects, whether it be corporate, whether it be movie sets, and so on.
that's cool. Super cool. All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, let's pull up another image here.
Gotcha. So going with the same theme of just either using one gel and always kind of like backlighting people, it's one of my favorite things to do. In this case, I did the same thing for Nicole. This was when I was filming my headshot video. Um, I also created somewhat of a portrait video to create these, and I implemented just one light, 200 watt. It was right behind the model. I believe it had the orange creative gel used, and it was directly facing the backdrop or the wall.
Mhm.
And then what I did was I removed the light stand using Photoshop.
Gotcha, gotcha. And then what was the lighting her up then?
That was the 24-inch MagMod or MagBox Pro. It
Okay.
was on camera right, so it was on her left side, as you can see. And it was feathered as well to give it that soft kiss around her face and then
Yeah.
create those shadows on the right side of her body.
Yeah. This is actually my favorite style of lighting setups is when you have the I call it cigar lighting because I always do it for every time I shoot guys
Nice.
doing smoking cigars. But where you have that light, 90 degrees to the side or at 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock,
Right.
and then have them look towards it. And the reason I love it the most is because of that shadow that you get across their face, right across that
Right.
cheek. Kind of, it's just like looks so good. I love it.
Yeah, to me, I like those bold shadows. A lot of people kind of like go and get away from that. They don't like doing that. Or, you have a lot of photographers who don't like to break rules in photography. And they're like, no, shadows, no, But for me, I embrace it. I embrace the shadows. I love it. It just creates dimension, in my opinion.
100%. Absolutely. And I also, I just, again, going back to, it seems like we're kind of seeing this theme where you like to use that light right behind them to create that, that
Yeah,
basically that clean space where it really draws attention to your subjects. So cool.
absolutely.
Good stuff, man.
Thanks. So once again, just kind of wanted to go with that same theme. It doesn't always have to be an individual. This is literally the same lighting setup that I did for Nicole. I did it here as well. This time it was for a sushi Japanese restaurant in Disney World, where they contracted me to create some images for the restaurant and establishments that they have.
Mhm.
In this case, they wanted to highlight these three bottles. And I did the same setup. So it was at 24-inch to the right side, and then the kicker light, the second light with the gel was in the back side. I think it was probably using the same gel as well.
Yeah. Nice. It's funny how these two images, the one previous and then this one, very similar, but used in completely different. You know what I mean? You got the gel and you got the light to the side, but to highlight products and stuff. And I love on this one how you have that nice specular strip there right down the bottle is to really just kind of again, so they're not so flat looking, right? Beautiful stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And I just make sure that I light it in a way where you won't lose the text or lose the logo so that everything's still readable.
Hmm. That's awesome. Woo,
All
this
right.
one's different.
So now instead of using gels to backlight things, I'm using gels to fill in color. So I always like to joke around and say you don't need backdrops, you just need gels, right? So what I did for this one was I used the 200-watt strobe to the left, and it was on a cyclorama wall. So it helps because when you just kind of splash color on it, it soaks it all up, if you can tell here in the photo. And I used the purple creative gel for this one. And then for my key light, the main light was to my right. It was with an optical spot. I believe it's called the BFP by Godox.
Hmm.
And that's what I used to light the subject here. And it created that circular effect as well against the backdrop.
That is cool. You know, it's funny when you went to this image. First thing that stood out to me was obviously her eyes. Like it's just
Yeah.
like now those are contacts or something, right?
Yeah, this was around Halloween season. So she was like almost like a vampire, kind of like zombie person. It's just a really cool theme and vibe that she was going for. So obviously it had to be kind of scary. So she's got the teeth, she's got the earrings that represent some sort of tooth, and then she's also got the contact lenses.
Dang, dude, that's so cool. And you know what really stands out to me on this one too is you got that shadow on the right hand side. So you got the
Yeah, I
shadow
really do
behind
love
her,
it.
and then the shadow on the right hand side.
I thought that was pretty cool when it was created. I was like, wow, that's nice. That is cool.
That is really cool. And then one other thing I think is important to point out here that for a lot of people to understand gels and kind of because you know a lot of times people will go, oh man, my colors got washed out. Like I was trying to use gels, but they got washed out. You know, and I couldn't get the color like everyone else gets. And oftentimes it's caused by light spill. So you know you have a second flash that's lighting something up and it kind of washes that color. This is a perfect way of seeing that example. And what I mean by that is you got her shadow is being cast on the wall, right? And then where the shadow was, where the light wasn't hitting, is where that color is filling in. So you got that purple shadow behind her. And I think it's a perfect example of showing, like, hey, if your colors aren't there, it's typically because you have that light coming from somewhere else that's essentially canceling out your color.
That's true. I feel like in this studio we had to turn off all the lights, not only to see where the projection was going to land, but
Hmm.
for that same reason to kind of see and make sure that no other light sources are conflicting with your scene or your setup.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Ray, I got a question for you. I don't
Shoot.
typically do these types of questions, but you know, you've been obviously doing all of these things, these successful things, and I know we have a few more images that we're still going to talk about. But
Yeah, yeah.
with all the success, has there ever been a time where you just felt like kind of giving up and because I think a lot of photographers go through that and where they just feel like, you know what, I'm kind of done, I'm going to move on. And I guess maybe the question for you would be, if so, what got you through that? Like, how did you get through the period where you're just feeling down?
That's a really good question. So I can rewind about, I would say 5 years ago, when we made the move down to Florida. I feel like that was a moment where I felt like I just wanted to give everything up because I lost my inspiration. I felt like things were kind of stagnant for me. They weren't picking up. I was at a level where I was okay, decently making money, with my photography business.
Hmm.
But I also felt like I was just doing the same thing over and over again. I wasn't creating, I wasn't being creative. And sometimes that makes you go into this mode of depression where you're like, I just want to give it up. I just want to put the camera down. And I almost did. I almost did. And I feel like the move kind of inspired me to start over and do things differently and kind of see where my failures were, where I came from in New York to now in a new location. And you kind of sort of have to force yourself to do it at that time because it becomes a challenge because now I'm at this new location. No one knows who I am. I'm pretty much starting all over again. The only thing I have in my bag is my experience and my tools. So I believe that sometimes you just have to challenge yourself, and sometimes you have to get out that funk by just reinvent the creativity. And
Hmm.
if you're used to shooting the same thing, just kind of start shooting something else to kind of spin that wheel for you again.
I love that. Is that when you started doing more of like the portraiture type work?
Yeah. Yeah. So I lived in New York and I kind of moved to a smaller city. So
Hmm.
yeah, there's a lot of business professionals there, but it wasn't something that was really active or fresh at the time,
Mm.
for people in that city. So when I came down to Florida, it almost became kind of like a boom as well because COVID and all that. So everybody just wants to get back to work. Everybody just wants to start. So that created a boom for me, and that's where most of that work started generating it. And I kind of wanted to go that route as well.
That's awesome. Good stuff. I love that. I know it seems like that's a question that comes up a lot for photographers. You know, it's sometimes we're in this, we're doing it by ourselves. You know, we go out and shoot, we come back, we edit. It's like everything, we don't have people around us to kind of, you know, talk to or water cooler, you know what I mean? Like, and so it's
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
it's being able to like, okay, I'm going through that tough time. what do I need to do for myself? And I think your advice there, as far as just, get out there and do something maybe a little bit different, maybe something fresh that's, boost that creativity again. I think
Right.
it's great, man. Love that stuff. Well, hey, I don't mean to steer us away from the images. Should we jump back into another one?
Yeah, let's do it. So real quick, just to touch on this one real quick, it's the same concept, just
Oh,
different effect when it came to the optical spot. This time I kind of just squeezed it in together and used the effect that gives you like a line of light. But again, going with the effect of using a gel to kind of just fill or color the room with the color of your choice. I just kind of wanted to showcase that here with this one.
that is really cool. So the optical is what is that strip of light, and then you had
Yep.
one flash with what is that? Is that like a what color gel was that? Do you remember? Or I guess you could have changed the color later on too, but
I believe I might have changed the color on this one. I don't really recall, but
yeah,
it was most likely it probably was the blue.
got it. So basically, you're taking a blue gel on a flash. You're kind of essentially washing the whole room, right? The
Yep.
whole wall and everybody or her with that color, and then using the optical to essentially cancel out that color and create that strip of light on her, which then goes to the back of the wall as well. Is that right?
Exactly. Exactly. And then the optical spot is basically just overpowering that color.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I love her look to her eye and her little finger.
Yeah.
That's so
It
cool.
just looks mysterious.
Totally does.
All right. So this one was fun too. This was actually very recent. So I was a speaker at Shutterfest this year, and I had a class called Everything But the Key Light. And in this class, I was essentially teaching to work backwards, right? So a lot of people, when they're building their photo shoots or they start a photo shoot, what they do is they grab their key light, their main light, and they point it at the subject and they're like, all right, let me test it. Whether they're using a light meter or not, they test it out and they're like, all right, and then they work from there.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's kind of, in my opinion, I feel like it's backwards. Start backwards, right? So start with the colors that you're going to be using. So in this case, to the left of this image, you have the lamp that's created like this ambient light. And then to the right of the image, which was, I believe, a dark grayish kind of backdrop wallpaper. In the area that we were in, I took a 200-watt strobe. I put two red gels,
Hmm.
and then I just made sure that that light splashed onto that back wallpaper, and that's what created that red essence. And I kind of want to go with a monochromatic look with the model because she was wearing red, and that's one of the things I really, really love to do.
That's awesome. So there was no gel in the back. The light, the yellow that we see back there, that's just the yellow from the tungsten light, right?
Yep, correct.
And then the one on the right, you said when you said two gels, you mean like stacked on top of each other?
Correct, because in my opinion, at least for me, that's what I think works is when,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're trying to create a much more rich color when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
your gels, you stack them up twice or maybe three times if you happen to have a lot of those gels, which I happen to do
Yeah,
have. But I believe that if you do that, it creates a more saturated, more rich color for you, especially if you're going to be using it in higher power, because the higher the power, I think it just, like you said, washes it out. So you want to make sure that you get some rich colors. So in that point, I always use either two or three gels of the same color.
that's beautiful. And then, do you remember what kind of light you used on her?
On her, it was my 400-watt strobe, and that was the 42-inch Mac box.
Gotcha. Gosh, dude, that's a pretty beautiful shot, and I love how. So the class was called Everything But the Key Light. Is that right?
Yep,
What a cool concept as far as like basically it was setting up the scene, visualizing it, setting it up with all the different the lights, and then adding that key light last to light her up. Is that kind of the concept?
exactly.
That's cool.
That was the last step. Yeah,
That's cool. I would be a fun class to go to. Are you going to teach that class at any other conferences this year?
I'm considering it. Maybe WPPI. Who knows?
Nice. Well, if WPPI is listening, they should definitely bring you in because that's amazing, dude.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So again, same thing here. Um, Full body shot, and in this case, you can kind of see some of the ambient lighting also spilling onto the ground, but that's essentially another version of this photo.
Yeah. Gosh, that's so pretty. Good stuff, dude.
All right. So we have this one here. This was done in my house, in the same living room space I'm sitting in right now. This was a three light setup. And I think in order to discuss this photo, let's go there. So this is the original right here. And it kind of gives you a glimpse as to how I set it up because a lot of people can't quite understand it when they see this edited version here.
Yeah.
I use clearly green gel, 200 watt, yellow gel with a grid, also 200 watt strobe, and then the projection spot just to kind of shine her face just a tad bit to create that mysterious look on this photo.
That is so cool. I can't even tell. It almost looks like a lime gel because we do have a lime color as well. But you think it was yellow on the back there, yellow or lime or
You
something?
know what? You got me there. It might be yellow, it might be lime.
Yeah,
Not sure.
it's kind of close, right in between. But what a cool. So basically, you had three lights, two gels, and then just the optical snoot, essentially.
Yep. Yep.
Ah,
And
cool.
once you're done, we used atmosphere spray to kind of create that hazy feel, hazy atmosphere look. And then in post, I removed the light stands. And then I felt like the lights were a little bit too rectangular in my opinion. So I just wanted to make them a circle. So I just kind of created like a glow on top of them to just kind of formulate a circle on the gels and the lighting.
It looks like very well. You had mentioned mysterious, but it kind of reminds me of like those old movies, kind of the street scenes, and like the
Yeah.
haze from the bottom looks like it's coming out of like the vents in Brooklyn or something, right?
Yeah, no, that's exactly like the theme that we were going for. I just because I felt like with the hat itself, it kind of created that essence a little bit, almost like even like mafia style too, a little bit,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting is shooting with hats is not easy too, because you always have, you have to make sure that light is essentially below the rim, which then you kind of lose the essence of this light from overhead. I love how you just, I think using that spot, that very narrow stream of light, was able to kind of get underneath the hat and really show her off and bring into that, that look without overdoing that um, having your light too low
Yeah.
and things like that. Like you just had it perfect. The other thing that's interesting about the shot is that you don't have any light fall off past her. Go back. Can you see the behind the scenes one more time? Yeah. So you just literally just had that light just so perfectly on her to keep it from falling off. It's a
Yep.
that's,
Yep.
a, that's showing a great way of like how important it is to control your light, guys, through either grid or snoots or whatever it is. Like have that light control. So cool.
And I also want to emphasize, like, people think that this was probably done in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and it wasn't. It took a little while for us to establish the lighting. And then once we were done with the lighting, now we put another challenge into the works here, and that was the smoke.
Mm.
How can we get it to not be so powerful, but yet not to look super weak? So, you played around with it a little bit, and then that's when I started spraying. And it was a one-man band that day. Like that day,
Mhm.
she was modeling and she was stuck like this. I physically had to spray, hurry up, get it the petition, and then shoot the image. So it was not an easy feat that day. This shoot definitely lasted about an hour almost.
That's cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man.
Okay. So another one just to kind of showcase the idea here.
So in this one, it looks like so same lights. You just moved them back a little bit and
Yeah.
or brought her forward. Yeah, and it looks like you got a little bit more smoke in the air. That's so cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love
All
how you're
right.
showing multiple images from the same setup too, because it's kind of fun to see. Like, oh, you got the light set.
Yeah,
Now let's shoot it multiple ways.
exactly. So this one here, another intricate set. This one we were kind of co-working with one of our favorite artists that we like to listen to here locally, and this was just for like an inspirational shoot. It was something that we did out of hobby for them. And in this case, I used the MagMod XL with one grid as my key light, which was shining light on K. I also used 200 watt with another gel to kind of simulate the sun, just kind of bleeding in through those leaves in the back, as you can see on the left side here. And yeah, that's pretty much what I used in terms of lighting for this one.
Ray, I'm shaking my head because as you're talking about it, if I'm not mistaken, this one you just posted on Instagram a couple days ago, right?
I did. I did, yeah.
Yeah, guys, I'm trying to pull it up here. If you actually go, yeah, I want to show them this real quick.
Yeah,
So
sure.
if you guys go over to MagMod, MagnetMod, there is just a few rows down, I guess, depending on when you watch this video. But there's this is the shoot he's talking about. So there's a good behind the scenes where you can actually see the reflector XL. Um, so cool, dude. Such a great image.
I love the XL. It is by far one of my, other than the 24-inch, is by far one of my favorite modifiers to use because I feel like it's very versatile, especially when, there's some of us who just don't have assistants or can't hire assistants or don't have time. We have to do a shoot by ourselves. If you're outdoors, this thing here can withstand a wind. Quite honestly, when you're using a 24-inch or a 42-inch, they get picked up very, very easily by the wind. But with the XL, you don't have to worry about the wind factor. Very easy to transport, very lightweight, but most importantly, it won't fall down during your shoot if it's a
Yeah,
windy day.
yeah. I I have a light. I don't know. Is that a 600 behind you or a four? What is that?
Right now, this one's the 400. This
400.
one right here with the,
Okay.
yeah. Mhm.
I have a 600 that I was using on a shoot, and yeah, that wind. I was on top of a mountain, and I thought I
Oh,
was super good. And next thing I know, the whole light came tumbling down. It survived, thank goodness, but it had me scared. So you're right.
yeah,
When you're
no,
up there, you to use something that doesn't, you don't have to worry so much about the wind. Now, granted, we're not telling anyone go up there and just trust that hey, it's going to be fine. Like obviously, you want to keep an eye on your light, sandbag it, have somebody hold it, whatever it is you need to do. But it's certainly more wind resistant than like a softbox or the beauty dish or anything like
oh,
that.
yeah.
So
Always use caution.
always discussion, exactly. Good stuff, dude. Good stuff. I'm gonna go back to this image. Sorry, I didn't mean to like take you away. I
Oh, that's
again when
fine.
you're talking about it, I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this one. I saw this one recently. So
Cool. All right, so let me go to the next one, and this one here was another interesting one. So if you guys see, there's a routine here, right? So I'm placing the lights behind them, facing the backdrop, or I'm filling the room in with color using, spilling the light onto a backdrop or something. But in this case, I had a very challenging photo shoot. So instead of facing the backdrop, facing the background, I'm actually using as backlight. And now I have the lights facing me and using the subjects to cover this backlight. So that way it's not blinding the camera or creating like this very powerful, hazy backlit photo.
mm-hmm.
Um, so to give you a backstory for this photo, long story short, EDC is an electronic festival that happens here in Orlando every year. The hairstylist that created the hairstyles for this photo, along with a partnership of Kay for her makeup studio, they wanted to work together to create some promotional campaign photos for them to promote makeup and hair services just like this for the EDC carnival that was going to come to town. They wanted to make sure to get enough bookings before the carnival and then also on the day of the festival carnival. So they say, "Hey Ray, we need you to come up with something. What can you do for us?" So what do you think when someone says, "All right, electronic music," what are you thinking?
What am I thinking? I mean, when I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
like I think of the raves and kind of
yeah.
the party and the atmosphere. Obviously, lights and colors. I mean, it kind of looks like they're right on the side of like the dance floor, like
Yeah.
where it all happens.
They're almost like right next to stage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, So it was honestly tricky because we shot this in her makeup studio. So it's not made for photos. There was barely any space, but we made it work. I put up a backdrop in the back. It was either dark gray or black. I can't really remember. But essentially, I got to work and I'm like, all right, look, like when you're thinking laser lights. I don't have any laser lights. The best thing I could do is just use my strobes and put some
Mm-hmm,
color on it.
mm-hmm.
So when she came with this outfit, the lady to the left here, and she had that, I instantly thought like ice, cool,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then when the lady on the right came, I instantly thought, more red, more like fire,
Yeah,
orange.
yeah,
So ice and fire, cool and warm. I instantly just like, all right, let's do this. And then why not use smoke? You see a lot of smoke
yeah.
shows at these concerts and festivals. So using atmosphere spray, we filled the room up with smoke. And I had another assistant helping, kind of like creating that pattern of smoke. And I put the 200 watt with a blue gel, I'm assuming blue gel,
Mm-hmm.
and then a red or CTO gel on the right side with another 200 watt strobe. And then the key light was a 48-inch softbox coming down and kind of almost like a clamshell setup. And then
Yeah,
the reflect on kind of just fill in those shadows, especially because the lady on the left had a hat on.
yeah, yeah. Which makes it a little bit more tough. That's amazing, dude. So question for you:
Yeah.
the smoke or fog or atmosphere aerosol, whatever in the front, is that added in post?
Yes. So
Okay,
this image here is the original.
look at that. I
Yeah. So
so oh, so go ahead, go ahead.
no, no, I was just gonna say everything here was added in post.
Got it. It's and honestly, it's not a whole lot. Like even that image right there is amazing looking. I mean, you could have turned that in, and that's perfect. Let's go back to the edited one real quick. The reason I asked that was because I think one of the things that some people have an issue with, and sometimes when I do these interviews, these how I shot it, I love thinking like if I were the audience and I go, oh, I've done something like that, but man, this is the part that I struggled with. And I think the struggle is sometimes that atmosphere aerosol or whatever comes in front of your subject. And so then when you light it, it becomes this kind of this haze, this, color and smoke. And so it's almost like, hey, get the smoke there, but don't let it get in front of your subject. You know what I mean? And so that's why I thought it was really interesting. I'm like, you either did some special magic to get that smoke to not be in front, or you just happened to catch it right as it was, low and not rising up. So I appreciate. I didn't even know you had a kind of a before and after, and I appreciated you showing that because I think that's
Of
something that
course.
people struggle with sometimes.
No, that's a good point. And I feel like it is true. I mean, even I struggled with that. So the challenge was not only to make sure that the atmosphere spray doesn't work in front of them, because like you said, it does create that nasty, just smoky filled air look.
Hmm.
But the other challenge was I had them moving. So there was a lot of movement here
Oh wow.
because I was kind of like shooting really quickly. So as I'm shooting, click, 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 they're also moving, dancing around.
Yeah.
So there were a few times where they weren't equally centered to the light. So if the one on the right was equally centered to the light, the one on the left, she was kind of off. So that backlight is just really bright on the camera,
Yeah.
and it was just the photo was no good. So that was definitely another challenge. So we did, have a few mistakes here and there, but we ended up getting one of these, which was solid in my opinion.
That's awesome. And it looks so clean. I mean, the light on them looks clean. It's just very, very commercial, like perfection. Love it. Good
Thank you
stuff.
so much. All right. So this one here.
Dude, Ray, I just gotta say, every time you bring up an image, I just shake my head like, dang, dude, these images they're so good. Sorry.
Oh man, no, you're fine, man. This is definitely an interesting one. So this let's start off with the before.
Okay.
This is the before right here. The reason I want to start off with the before because I want to point out that a lot of the lighting in the back is because of the light bars that they already had at this Pilates studio. So this was a client job, and let me see how I can explain it. So if you look off to the right side, right under the LED signage that looks like it was some letters, you can kind of see the shadow of like an individual there. That wall that's there that kind of cuts them off, that's another pillar, which is hiding about 20 to 30 more people. So this Pilates gym is so small and there were so many mirrors all over the place that I had to like physically like move everybody from one corner to the other while I was shooting. So there's like 20 or 30 people hiding back there in some sort of way. I just wanted to mention that. That's one. Two, it was an interesting setup because again, there were so many mirrors and so many reflections of things that I didn't like. Like for example, for me, I feel like that speaker in the back is very distracting. Now, a lot of other people would just kind of forget about it. When I'm shooting, I'm looking for like clean work, no distractions. If I can Photoshop it later, I probably would. But in this case, there were a lot of images. So I'm like, nope, I'm not going to spend time Photoshopping this out. So I'm like, okay, it stays. So the speaker in the back, the projection on the top right of the image is also was kind of
Mm,
distracting to me. But how did I light it, right? So that's the first thing. So I took advantage of the very, very blue looking atmosphere, ambient lighting. I wanted to give it a kick of light, a kick of color to kind of change things around. So what I did was right in the backside where that pink is coming from, right in the bushes there somewhere, because they had like this fake plant. I hid a 200-watt strobe with I believe it might be a purple or like red and pink gel. I'm not sure exactly which ones I've used, but to create that color. And
interesting.
that was
So
back there.
so that's
Hmm?
not from the studio. That kind of
Oh,
reddish purple color, that's something you added in the shoot.
yeah, that was definitely a mag gel. Yeah.
And
Hmm.
then just to understand, we're looking at the mirror is reflecting back what's behind you essentially, right? In the studio.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
Exactly. So I use that. And then off to the left side of the camera, I use the 42-inch to be my key light, which was going to shine and fill in my subject.
Did you add any flashes with blue as well, or is that blue light just the studio itself?
So for this photo, no, but essentially for other parts of this photo session throughout the photo session, yes, I did add a blue gel light in certain part of the gym for more color.
I will say, I think your choice with that purple reddish color back there to complement the other ones, I mean, it's perfect. And you mentioned the things, I don't actually even see the speaker unless you're talking about that black kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse here. Can you see it?
I can't see your mouse, unfortunately. I think it's
That's okay.
yeah, but I do see the projector. But the interesting part is with the colors that you have, it draws your attention one to her because obviously she's lit well, and then to the purple, and you don't get caught up in seeing the projector or the speakers or anything else. You know, it's just it's certainly yeah, it's a beautiful shot.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I had every trainer who took pictures that day for their staff website and their Instagram stand in right where she was standing so we can get a wide environmental portrait and then we can get like a close-up headshot.
What would you say, Ray, was the height of your light stand with your 42? You know, typically, are you? I mean, let's just take the bottom of the 42 for example. How are you
Yeah.
trying to get it like around the chest, around the chin? Do you go higher than
I
that? Like,
think so.
okay,
I think the 42-inch, the bottom of it was right around her chest. So I think it was kind of elevated, the light.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I noticed because you're getting a little bit of that shadow coming off the nose, which again gives that nice dimension. You got the shadow coming off the cheek a little bit, but yet it's filled in as well. Just really cool, great lighting, good stuff.
One of my favorite shoots thus far.
That's all.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I imagine so. So how many people did you end up shooting that day? Like 30?
It was like 30 trainers. Yeah.
Wow, dang, it's a busy day.
They yeah, it was a long day. But we got through.
That's cool.
Let's see here. Yeah, and then that's it, my friend. That's the day.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hey, and these are this is going back right, yeah, right to the beginning there, dude. This has been so enlightening. It's been so good. Ray, here's another question for you. I'll throw one
Yeah.
more at you. Kind of a funny one. Uh, you had to start all over, right?
Yeah.
Business, you
Wow.
know, maybe you have to move to another country, maybe everything, you lost all your gear, whatever it is. If you had to start all over again, what would you do? Like, where would you start? You know, or maybe we look at this from a standpoint of somebody who's just beginning in photography and beginning the industry. And I guess what I mean by that is, um, you know, maybe, you know, camera, lens, would you get, would it be a flash? Would it be, um, how would you even market yourself? I guess there's lots of ways we could look at this, but maybe I don't know. I
Yeah.
kind of toss that towards you. If you're just starting
Oh,
off somebody fresh, what would you do?
that's really good right there. No, that's awesome. And to a point, I'm kind of, or I was, well, kind of still living that. I feel like going back to the story earlier, when I moved down to Florida,
Yeah,
essentially that happened. I mean, thank goodness I didn't lose all my equipment or my gear. I had it.
yeah,
But I did start over.
yeah.
I
Your
was nothing. I
business,
was
right? All
nobody
your
here.
clientele and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, because and I blame myself for being, I guess, I don't know, childish in the brain here, thinking about, oh, I'll be fine. I'll just pick up and drop off, and we'll be okay. And that was not the truth at all. So I had to start over with I had to start over with everything and just make sure that we were good.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor,
Yep, yep. I'm here.
sorry, I lost you there. All right. No, I had to start over, and I feel like if it was someone who just got into photography, a lot of people just get mixed into the idea of the camera. And I feel like, especially nowadays with the technology that we have, I don't think the camera is as important as your lighting
Mm-hmm.
and as your glass, your lenses, right? Because a lot of people don't start off immediately and say, I need a light for my camera. So they'll just start off with the camera body and the lenses. And they don't know any better, but people are buying a lot of kit lenses
Mm-hmm.
that honestly, yeah, they'll work, they'll do the job, but you really wouldn't get far with it. It'll be a great way for you to start and learn photography and learn the basics, right? But implement and budget for good glass, good lenses,
Yeah,
that would help you. Start off with something versatile like a 24-70, right?
yeah.
Because it gets you those nice up and tight close-ups, tight shots, but you can also get a lot of good wide shots. Um, Once you learn the basics and you have the good lenses, then focus on lighting, right? Buy yourself a very economical budget light, and then most importantly, your lighting, your light modifiers, like your soft boxes and your strip boxes and things like that. And I may sound biased here, but invest in MagMod. Get
Hey,
yourself a
I'm
whole
not gonna
MagMod
stop you.
kit. Get yourself a whole MagMod kit. There's a lot of great starter kits on the website that people can purchase, that would definitely help them just get started with everything. And last but not least, just focus on marketing your business and branding your business, because a lot of people are like, hey, I'm me, I'm a photographer, let me take your picture. But if you showcase who you are, what you can do, it'll be better for you in terms of marketing.
Yeah, and it has to be a constant thing where you're constantly branding and constantly marketing, getting yourself out there. I think far too many people start a business, they create a cool logo, they create a cool Instagram account, whatever it is, and then they go, okay, I just people are going to come, and it's like it doesn't work that way. You have to be out there working. You have to be constantly branding and marketing yourself, getting yourself in front of people. Ray, before I let you go, I gotta mention. I've been traveling a lot lately, and I've been driving a lot of hours in my car, and so I've been listening to a lot of two guys that have been kind of they kind of this motivational mindset. One of them is Ed Milet. I'm not sure if you've heard of him, and the other one's Rob Dial. Both excellent podcasts. If you're into that kind of stuff, go check it out. But with them in my mind, I got to ask, what's like a habit or a mindset that you have that you felt like has helped the most with your growth as a photographer? Would you say it's kind of a tough question, but I'm going to throw it at you anyways.
Oh no, that's a good one. I'm gonna have to check out that podcast. But I feel that consistency is very important,
Hmm.
um, when you're doing this kind of work, especially if it's for business. If you're a hobbyist, you can do different things all the time. But if it's for a business, going with that branding effect, be consistent, and always try to level up in terms of your what you know and your experience,
Hmm.
right? Because, I've been doing this since 2015, but every single day I'm trying something new. Every single day I challenge myself and I try my best to kind of just up one myself, because it's me versus me. We're all a community at the end of the day, but we're learning from each other. And you see something new, you're like, I want to try that. I feel like that works a lot, just making sure that you're consistent, and just always try to do new things and just be humble.
Hmm.
Also, very humble.
Those are all I love. Consistent, do new things, and be humble. Those are you couldn't say it better, man. That's great. Good stuff. Hey, Ray, this has been an amazing episode. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here and chat with me. I always learn new things. I think my biggest takeaway here is just the way you use gels to really just draw emphasis and bring out people, whether behind them, whether it's pointing at the camera or pointing at the background. And it seems like to me that it's in your mind or as you're setting it up. It's like okay, let's go back to that Shutterfest class you taught. Like get everything set up and then just add your key light in last. I just love that. I love that concept. I love that idea. So I
Thank you.
yeah, thank you for spending the time with me. I really appreciate it and appreciate having you on the show.
Hey man, Trevor, I appreciate you. Very grateful for having me here, and of course for having part of the team. I'm excited, and I'm just here to help people out. So if anybody's out there and just has questions, just reach out to me, man. Shoot with Ray on all platforms, and I'm just willing to help. I'm
I
a
love
I'm
that.
a I'm full of information.
I love it. You definitely are. Definitely are. And guys, don't forget if you haven't already, make sure to go subscribe to him on his YouTube channel. I mean, the guy he's obviously putting out a lot of great content. So go check him out there. Appreciate it, Ray. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. If you haven't yet subscribed to MagMod, be sure to subscribe to the MagMod channel as well. Turn on those notifications so you find out when we have these How I Shot Us. We also have some really cool videos coming out. In fact, Ray, we got to talk, dude. I got to get you locked in to do a video for us. But we got Neil and Helen's going to be posting a video here shortly. I'm going to keep it a secret. We got a few others that are coming out that we're excited to share their videos as well. So, but this How I Shot It episode has been awesome. Ray, I appreciate you. And then, guys, we're going to be doing these about every 2 weeks. So be sure to, like I said, subscribe and tune in. Thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Ray, appreciate it.